And it does say we're live, so we'll just give it a few seconds. Okay, guys, welcome to tonight's live stream of the CarrGuy and SIXFAN Show. And if you're watching us after the fact, welcome to the podcast. Tonight, we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us. But before we do that, my name is Jason, and I am old car guy here of the CarrGuy and SIXFAN Show. And joining us on vacation from Montana
is Grant. Grant, tell me, straight Six fans. I'm Six fan of the operation, and yeah, we are totally excited to have on our guest tonight. Very fitting that I'm doing it from the back of a camper RV because he's an overlander extraordinaire. So the guy above me is
Nate with Dirt Lifestyle. I'm in Tacoma, Washington. Just huffing in the fumes from me welding earlier.
Before we went live, Nate, I was telling you that I was taking a look at a few of your episodes, and I really appreciate the camera work and the editing, and you do a really good job. And as a new and up and comer, I can really learn some of those tips from watching some new people. So thanks for just doing what you do, because I learned a little bit from that tonight.
No, thank you. Thanks for the compliment.
So we're going to jump over to the chat right quick and just make some acknowledgement to some people who have joined us in there tonight. Right early in Australia, we've got Jason, who is Streetcar Culture, who's joined us. We've got GMC Texas, Grimm's Auto Service, Michigan Muscle Car Garage, and we've also got King Eric, the greatest of all, and David McGraw. Thanks for joining in, guys. I really appreciate you being here, and we are going to jump right in to some questions for Nate and Grant. Let us know what you've got off the top here.
Well, of course, Jason, you started off with the camera work, and that's one of the things that really shines through on Nate's channel, Dirt Lifestyle. So, Nate, I want to ask you, what happened first? Was it you get into YouTube and you upgrade your gear, or were you into photography and stuff? Because if I'm not mistaken, you have like a Canon Mark 1D or something. You have some pretty serious gear. So tell us what came first. Was it the love for photography or the love for YouTube?
You know, it's kind of both. My dad is a photographer by trade. He doesn't do video, but he does stills. And I was never really that into it, but I love going outdoors and going off road. And so I had a really inexpensive DSLR that I would bring with me, but I was just videoing for years, just like me and my buddies going through mud holes, so then we could watch it later and be like, dude, look, we did that mud hole. And then I met Matt with Bleep and Jeep in Moab, Utah, and he liked my Jeep, and he saw me filming stuff, and he's like, if you put together a video about some of the stuff you build, then I'll if I like it, I'll put it on my channel, and we'll give you money. I was like, okay, that all sounds awesome. So he asked me to join Bleep and Jeep. I sent him a video. It was my first time editing anything. I have no experience in this. My profession for the last 15 years was being a plumber, a commercial plumber, so I don't know photography, but he really liked it, so he started putting my videos on his channel, and that's how I got my start. I got my start on a bigger YouTube channel, and I quickly fell in love with it. I quickly just felt so in love with the creativity that comes with photography, and try to become a better storyteller. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like never satisfied, so I'm really hungry on things like this, and so it's such a thing for me to just naturally fall into and become obsessed with. And once I got to where I loved it enough, I was talking to my wife. I was like, I want to do this for a living, like in a serious way. And she's like, well, you probably couldn't do it working with Bleep and Jeep, and you should probably build your own brand. And so I talked with Matt, and I decided to start my own channel. And that was a little over a year ago. I started my own channel, and I've been doing this professionally, I guess. It's weird to say, but for like 9 months. I quit my job officially in January, and ever since then, I've been just doing YouTube full time.
So you had mentioned before that you're a plumber by trade, and it's it's one of the things I picked up when I was watching one of your videos. Was the attention to detail when doing things like wiring and this and that. What got you into off-roading and kind of the modifying to get to doing what you're doing. What led you into that? Not so much the YouTube channel, but just the hobby itself.
Man, that's a good question. I haven't been asked that. So the reason that I got into all this was I grew up like outside. We were just huge into the outdoors. We were military, and we lived in Oklahoma for a lot of my childhood. And even though it was Oklahoma and there was like nothing to do, my Boy Scout troop went camping like every month. And so once I became an adult, once we moved up to Washington when I was in high school, and I just immediately fell in love with this place and was just going outside all the time. I had a 78 Cutlass Supreme, and it just didn't do good off-road. So I got rid of the Cutlass Supreme, and I got an 87 S10 Blazer with four-wheel drive. And I was obsessed with cars, but I just I didn't like love that Blazer, but I just loved that it had four-wheel drive, and it was so much fun to be. So it kind of merged these two passions I had. One being cars, and the other one being going outside. And I spent a lot of weekends right after I graduated high school, just camping in it, and enjoying being outside in my rig. Really quickly I wanted a Jeep, so then I bought a Jeep, and ever since then it's pretty much been an obsession to just buy tools or buy stuff all related to this, and it's the only reason I even have this big shop. So
well, you talk about living in Oklahoma for a while, so being from Kansas, I definitely relate. And I'm seeing your neck of the woods, if you will, being here in Missoula, Montana, recording from the back of a rental camper RV, I can also have taken an appreciation to the overlanding side of things, and even though albeit at a mall crawling level, if you will. But
yeah.
I know that's one of the big builds you got going on right now on your channel right now, Nate, with the Land Rover. So tell us a little bit about that build and kind of how that series is going for you.
Okay, I'll show you. So behind me back here, this is a 2003 Land Rover Discovery, and I took the factory axles out, and I'm custom building a set of Super Duty axles. So this is a Dana 60 that I built. Oh, there we go. It's a Dana 60 that I built. This was a driver's side drop, so I cut it, and then I moved everything over and put all the brackets on. And then this is the rear axle that I just got done welding the cast iron on like a couple hours ago. Ooh, that is still real hot. But anyway, you can see it under there. So I'm letting it cool slow under a welding blanket. But yeah, that's my big overlanding project that I'm working on right now, is the Discovery, and it's going to be on those 37-inch tires over there.
Wow, can't wait to see that, because again, I was watching a few of your videos, and it's real easy to get hooked on a channel such as yours, because you do tell the story really good. The video editing is great, and you've actually got something interesting, an interesting story to tell. I see you've got a couple of Jeeps back there, and I know that a lot of people who do the off-roading or overlanding or whatever you guys classify it as have kind of resorted to that Jeep all-encompassing vehicle. I want to ask you what your thoughts are on the new Bronco coming out, and do you think that it's going to be a serious contender for the sport that you're involved in?
Oh, 100%. Well, okay, on paper. There's been lots of vehicles that have come out that on paper were amazing, and then they come out and they've got like horrible transmissions or head gasket issues or whatever. So as long as the Bronco has the reliability to back up what the capability is, it is going to be a game changer. Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of IFS IRS vehicles. And I know it has a solid axle rear, but it is independent front. And that's one of the biggest things Jeep guys are hating on. But I'm like, dude, you don't know. Like, that is actually a huge benefit in ground clearance. My wife just bought we just got our LR3. It's a third generation Disco Land Rover Discovery, and I put 32-inch tires on it, and I measured. It has more ground clearance than my TJ on 40s back there, just because you have so much more clearance with IFS. So I think there's a ton of potential in the new Bronco, and if I was in the market for a 4x4 right now, it would be between the Bronco and the brand new Land Rover Defender. I think those are the two best rigs. And if I had to choose a Jeep, it would probably be the Diesel JL. That's another really good platform. But yeah, Bronco looks awesome in my opinion.
And for those of you out there who don't understand what IFS stands for, well, it's independent front suspension. I think that's what he was getting at with that. And just as a quick little follow-up to that, one of the things that we've noticed about the Bronco simply is that they're using a lot of existing powertrain parts, with the exception of this new 7-speed or this Bull Low or whatever they're calling it. I think that a lot of the reliability issues that come with a tried and true motor are going to help with a new platform. So
yeah, I agree. And that is a good point. That is a lot of the components have been tested and are good. You know, and if it performs anything like the Raptor, I mean, it's going to be an animal. You know, those are great rigs.
Well, yeah, and then yeah, Ford, what they've done with the Raptor, as you mentioned, and then layering on top of that, there's the electronic like sway bar disconnect. Some of the high tech things they're building in on top of that IFS. I think will just be kind of huge for navigating trails and things like that.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned the diesel JL, Nate, but I know diesel is also a major component of your channel. About everything you own is a diesel, including a shared vehicle. That the only vehicle I've ever shared with you is the Jeep Liberty. That's a really cool vehicle, and I got so many comments at the fuel pump with that. But take us through what's your thought process? Why so many diesels?
Well, I was a huge gas head forever. I mean, I was all about V8s. I was all about muscle cars, all that stuff. And I did construction. I was a plumber, and I bought an 85 Volkswagen Golf diesel with 385,000 miles on it, and it was my first diesel I'd ever owned. And it was so unbelievably reliable. It was, and even though it made like 56 horsepower, but it still got up to like 80. I mean, it just took a while to get there. And so I don't know. There's something about the way diesels drive, even though they don't make big power on paper, because the power comes in at such a low RPM, it feels like it goes through the gears effortless. So after that, I was hooked. I started buying everything diesel, and the Jeep Wrangler behind me, he's got a Volkswagen diesel in it, and then this Jeep has a Mercedes diesel in it, and then more than likely I'll get like a Cummins or something to put in the Land Rover. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the Land Rover. The V8 that's in it's actually pretty decent, in my opinion, but long term, I mean, I just love diesels, so it's probably going to get one.
And I'd be right there with you. The problem is that I'm like you in the fact that when you started out, you were kind of a gas head or a petrol head, as they used to say. That's the way I am right now. No, we don't say petrol, sorry. Anyways, interrupted my train of thought. I've always wanted to get into something diesel, and I've been always so reluctant to do so because I don't know a lot about them as far as their, basically their inner workings and the accessories and all that stuff. I would have trouble, working on that stuff myself. If you were to be a newbie like myself who wants to get into a diesel, where would you suggest a person start?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're trying to get a diesel as a commuter, it would be a different suggestion than if you're trying to get a diesel like off-roader. You know what I'm saying? I think as far as getting into the understanding of diesel, like if you wanted to get like a cheap platform to get started with, just something you can tinker on and enjoy, like you could get, like a 2003 Volkswagen Golf diesel for a few $1,000s, and you're going to get 50 miles a gallon, and they're super tunable, and they're just great. They're super simple. So diesel is simpler than gas. It's so easy to troubleshoot because all you need is air and fuel. There's no spark. So it's like if there's something going on, you're like, all right, well, does it have fuel? And usually it doesn't. But because almost all engines have air. So if you don't have air, it's because you don't have any cylinder pressure, which is a way bigger problem. So it's like diesels for me have always been so easy to figure out what's wrong with them if I have a no start condition or whatever. Whereas I've owned so many gas vehicles where it could be anybody's guess, and you're just like shotgunning parts at it to figure out what fixes the problem. And I don't know. I'm very biased to diesel these days. I love the way they function, and I think they're so simple. So my suggestion would be to get a simple commuter car. I don't know much about like the brand new JL on paper is outstanding, but I don't know my way around how good that engine is like I do a Cummins or a TDI or a Mercedes.
Yeah, and I would say if there was a third problem for a diesel, it's really just a hybrid of the two problems. You probably have air in the fuel if you have a third problem.
No, that's very true. That's so common.
Definitely what I fought on the Liberty, and the problem with the Liberty was the production run only being 2 years. Of course, I think the Colorado eventually, the motor they put in the Colorado wound up being the same motor. So parts maybe as time went on maybe got more cheaper and more available, but man, it was just the parts availability. Every repair was so dang expensive on that thing that I had to cut bait from it. But yeah, every time I climbed into the driver's seat of that, I had a 2.5-inch lift all the way around, and I was running on 31s, and it was just a really cool feeling. And it was a limited, so it had all the leather seats and all the heated and all that everything. Sunroof. It was yeah, it's a nice. In fact, it's the same color as yours. And but that bumper you're putting on it. That's the other thing, you talk about being a perfectionist from the video editing side of thing. Well, it definitely shows through in your fabrication skills. You would tell us a little bit about, does that come from being part of the plumbing trade, or is that just your perfectionist coming through? How did you get so dang good at being a fabricator?
It's a long, I don't know if it's a long story. It's not until like my 30s that I realized that I could do something that a lot of people can't. I thought everybody could just fabricate. I honestly, I didn't even realize it. I got on Bleepin' Jeep, and I did a video where I was swapping the engine into this this diesel, and I was like, all right, there's no oil pan that's going to fit this, so I'm just going to build an oil pan. And people were like, whoa, dude, you can fab your ass off. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. I had no idea. And then the more I started doing it, the more I realized that it's not something that other people can do easily. And for me, my whole life, I've been able to just see things and build them very easily. So I guess it was something that I was just born able to do. And then as I needed to build different things in the shop, it just kind of honed my skills. And then now I feel comfortable pretty much building whatever. So, but yeah, I think that there is a gene or something. My dad, he can't fabricate any, he doesn't own a tool. He doesn't even own a screwdriver. He's not into this stuff at all. So this is something that just I was attracted to, and as I needed things, I started building them, and it just came very natural to me.
Well, we're just going to take a quick second here for station identification and make sure that everybody knows that if you jump in here, that you can give us a thumbs up and share us out to social media. That makes sure that people who watch you are also possibly jumping on here and watching us. We talked a little bit about the whole YouTube side of thing, and we know that you kind of got your start with Bleepin' Jeep, and then you kind of are doing your own thing now. You're kind of doing it full time. Tell us a little bit about what you feel has made your channel to be the success that it is. Is there any one thing that you can put your hands on, or is it a group of different things?
It's a group.
Yeah.
You're fighting a lot of things whenever you start a YouTube channel. It's hard to get the algorithm to promote your stuff. So there's two ways for you to get discovered. One is going to be the algorithm, which would be the algorithm suggesting your videos, and then the other one is making sure your content is searchable. So no matter what I was building, even if it was a part of a series, let's say it's episode 3 of this series, I wouldn't name it episode 3. Sometimes I would put episode 3 in the title, but the title would usually be how to build a 4-link suspension, or how to fill in the blank, something that is searchable, so then people can stumble upon my channel. And then the more people that stumble upon your channel and start to subscribe, then the algorithm's like, oh, okay, some people like this stuff. Let's suggest it to some other people. And then you start to get discovered that way. But it's an uphill battle. It is for everybody. And I know some folks look at my channel as growing really fast and stuff, but there's people who grow even faster than me. It's a really hard science to figure out how to get people to click the subscribe button, and how to get them to be so engaged in your video they watch it all the way through. And it has a lot to do with make sure you have clear audio, clear video, really good storytelling, because if you just go on and on and on about that bolt that was, super crappy to pull out, like, people are going to click next and they're going to go watch something else. So like I was saying, I don't think it's any one thing. It's a combination of things that you have to constantly sharpen your skills every single video. And a big one being consistency. Even when I was working full time, I always did at least one video a week. And I think that was a really important component as to why I was able to grow so much at the beginning.
Yeah, so then maybe tell us a little bit about what lessons did you learn when you were part of the Bleep and Jeep brand, because that is such a big brand. I know at one point in time, I think Matt's channel was the biggest automotive channel there for a while, but which is very unique. I mean, I think our niche is really hard to get, up in like even a top 100 threshold. The automotive niche, for whatever reason, just isn't as universally kind of just sought after. So what were some of the things you learned along the way when you were helping Matt out over at Bleep and Jeep?
Well, I didn't really get a great opportunity to. It's not, we live in opposite sides of the country, so I didn't really get like a great opportunity to just like be with him and learn how to do it. To be honest with you, like, most of the lessons that I learned with Bleep and Jeep was just trial and error from my standpoint. Matt is so busy, he doesn't have time to like hold your hand and be like, you should have done it this way or that way. So it was like, either he likes it and he's going to post it, or he doesn't and he's not going to. So I think that a lot of what I learned there was more or less, first off, the big lesson was that I love doing this. I had no idea. I thought that it was just going to be a little side hobby thing. I didn't realize that I was going to actually like fall in love with it as hard as I did. And, I don't know. I guess I learned how to be comfortable in front of a camera, just all the things you learn when you start. The first time when you get in the shop and there's no one around and you're just looking at a black hole that is the lens of the camera, and you're just talking to yourself, you feel like such a dummy. And it takes forever to not feel like a dummy. So I think that I was able to get past a lot of those hurdles by being at Bleep and Jeep. I learned how to deal with really harsh criticism. And I'm still not great at it. There's still a lot of times I just got to walk away, because people are brutal, whether it's fair or unfair, that's there, and you got to learn how to take it. And I learned a lot about how to deal with people just trying to push your buttons in a big way from Bleep and Jeep, because that was just the first place that I had to learn all these really hard lessons.
Yeah, it's something that, as smaller channels like Grant and mine, we're learning that too, and Grant's on a little bit of a hiatus as far as his content creating, just for that reason. Sometimes you've just got to get things done. And back at one of the episodes that I was watching, you were saying, off camera, I did some of this stuff because it's hard, it's tedious stuff that you got to focus on. It's hard to do it while that camera's rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to open up the chat now for some questions from the people who are in the chat. We allow them to come in here and ask some questions of you and see if there's anything that's there. So we're going to open the chat up now. If you guys have anything that you want to ask Nate, go ahead and put that in the chat now, and we'll do our best to get to that. Nate, another thing that we do on every episode is we like to talk a little bit about some of the things that are up and coming with each of our channels. So we know that Grant has been on vacation here for a little bit, and we do know that we've got some things coming up on your channel there, Grant. But why don't you kind of give everybody a little bit of a highlight?
Well, yeah, so about the only thing holding me back from firing up the Fairmont for the first time in a long time is I got to reset the distributor. I think I said this maybe last week. I just kind of plopped it in, didn't even think about top dead center. And there's one other thing I need to double check. Anyway, that's coming up, probably not all too far. But before we turn back in the old rental RV camper van, I'm probably going to do a walk around of this. Pretty cool. I think it's just going to be a little different, kind of change of pace for the content. And I think I'll have some fun with it as well.
And on my channel, we've also got, we talked about a swap in the last episode of Old Car Guy, and you guys watched that, and it did not turn out to be the swap you thought it was. Well, in the next upcoming episode, there's going to be another swap, and it might just be exactly what you had asked for, so you're going to want to prepare for that. Nate, why don't you tell our viewers who are here a little bit about what they could expect from your channel in the upcoming episodes?
I guess it's going to be a lot of fabrication. I've got a lot of work to do on this Land Rover Discovery. I'm going to be doing something in the fall called Trail to SEMA. Even though SEMA got canceled, we're still doing this event thing called Trail to SEMA, and we're going to be meeting up in Sacramento. That's all I know. And then we're going to be wheeling for like 5 days. I did it last year, and it was incredible. So the Land Rover Discovery has to be all together on 37s and on its way to Sacramento by the end of October.
Well, and worst case scenario, you could take something else if you had to. You've got lost there.
That's true. I do have other options if I had to, but I guess Plan A is the Land Rover Discovery.
So we did have a question come out of the chat, and it was from King Eric, the greatest of all. Wants to know, what part of Washington State are you in?
I'm in Tacoma.
So way up north.
Tacoma's about an hour-ish south of Seattle. I'm probably 2+ hours from the border of Canada. So, yep, pretty far up there.
And a lot of I know you wheel a lot in Oregon. What's your favorite trail in that area?
Oh, man. I don't know. I guess it would be favorite trail system. Right now, I'm like way into Reeder. Foothills is a little bit north of me. But right now, my two favorite places would be Reeder Foothills, and then in Oregon, there's Browns Camp, which we're going to be going back to here in a couple weeks. There's a lot of great wheeling up here. It's an outstanding place if you're an outdoorsman.
Well, I do want to apologize, Jason, because the chat's not showing up on the mobile app. So I did also want to give my wife a shout out, who went into Big Sky and got me a nice draft of my favorite drink of theirs, Moose Drool. So
dude.
Oh yeah.
let me know if anything else is coming in on the chat. Sorry to leave you hanging there.
Yeah, no problem. We are keeping an eye on the chat, and King Eric, the greatest of all, asks another question. He's asking if Nate has ever gone dooning. Here in Oregon, he says that they have some great sand dunes.
Yeah, I've only done dunes and Jeeps, and it's been like places like Sand Hollow, Utah, where it's a ton of rock crawling, but there just happens to be some dunes too. In the future, I don't want to give too much away, but all right, screw it, I will. So there's an engine on a stand over here, and that's a Volkswagen TDI out of Passat, and I want to make it the most powerful 4-cylinder TDI in North America, and I want to put it in a Baja Bug. So probably inside the next year, I will be shopping for a Baja Bug, and that motor is going to be, it's going to have nitrous and a bunch of other things. It should make like 400 to 500 horse, somewhere in there. And then I will be doing dooning, yes. But that'll be like my first real legit dune trips will be in that Baja Bug.
It was also suggested that I diesel swap the square body. Probably not right away with that one. No, I'm not gonna jump on that. I got to learn more about them first. Oh, let's see. What else does the chat having to say here? Go ahead, Grant.
Well, in the meantime, as I say, we talked about hitting the dunes. We talked about the trail to SEMA. Nate, I've only done this one other time on the CARRGUY and SIXFAN show where I concocted some sort of dream collab, but I'm going to throw it out there. This will be the second one. Wings World, I don't know if you follow Wings World. They build a lot of pre-runners and stuff, but they just recently finished like a 87, 88 F-250 build with IDI diesel, and so I thought, hey,
cool.
There's another guy who's kick-ass at fabricating, off-roading, and diesels. That'd be so sweet if Dirt Lifestyle and Wings World got together for a build.
Oh, and I collab with whoever. I mean, I get asked to collab all the time, but a lot of times it just falls flat because it's people that are like in Florida or whatever the scenario is.
They're in San Diego.
But I'll collab big and small. I like to get together with whoever, man. We're all in this big car community, and I'd like to just meet people and build whatever. So if I ever get the opportunity to work with those guys, then I certainly would if it made sense for us, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that all the cool channels are out west anyway, right? Like
maybe.
But But then again, when I'm on the east coast of Canada, everything's west from me. So I mean,
Yeah, true.
so I guess we don't have too many more questions coming in from the chat, but we also want to just kind of make a honorable mention to that awesome J truck that you got behind us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, yeah. I bought that as a low buck build because I wanted to buy something on Craigslist that was dirt cheap and pretty much just on its way to the scrap heap. Like, this thing had been on Craigslist for a while. No one was going to get it. It was on an island, so like you had to take a ferry over to get it and everything. And I saved it, and the concept was to buy a dirt cheap truck that was non-diesel, and then buy a dirt cheap diesel vehicle, and then combine the two into making like a cool, weird, cheap dirt like diesel truck. So I got the truck for $500, and then I got a wrecked Mercedes for $300, and the Mercedes had the engine that I wanted. And then I pulled the motor, and then I can't remember if I sold the car. No, I scrapped the car. I sold some parts off the car, made a bunch of money back, and then when I sold the engine for the truck for $300, I was like, I'm not into this truck very much money now. So initially, it was a really low-cost build, and once I started working on it and a bunch of little things you don't plan on, like the fuel tank was like full of water, it had cracks all over it and stuff. It's turned into a little bit more than a low buck diesel truck, but that was the original concept, was low buck diesel truck. And so now low buck means less than like $5,000 instead of less than like $2,000. So but the concept was to build something. I don't want to do a paint job on it. I don't want to do any of that. I just wanted to lift it, put cool tires, maybe build out a one-of-a-kind interior and put a diesel motor in it and take it to I really want to do Gambler 500 down in Oregon with it once it's done.
Yeah, a Gambler 500 is something that we don't have over here on the East Coast, but there are a few places that are trying to get them going. Like I think upstate New York is trying to put one together, which is only about a 8-hour drive for me if I really wanted to do that. But at the end of the day, I think those are kind of neat rigs to build because basically people are doing those on a budget where they're just taking whatever and they're just making a real ugly vehicle out of it and doing the Gambler 500 and having a lot of fun, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So have you ever done the Gambler?
No, every year I say I'm going to, and then something happens. And this year, of course, this year is COVID. So there's a whole lot of plans that everyone had. My whole year is completely different than it looked in January. Like, I was going to go to so many events this year, and I haven't gone to any.
Yeah, man.
So.
Well, we are getting ready to close things up. Grant, is there any other thing that you want to add to the content for this show?
No, really, all I was going to say is, Nate, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show. You've been a channel ever since you were on Bleep and Jeep. I've been following you for a long time, so it's been a real pleasure. I hate that, well, it doesn't sound bad. I'm on vacation, so I promised my wife it'll be I'm going to leave the broadcast ASAP. But some of the best conversations are the before and after shows, so I regret that I won't be able to do that tonight. So I just wanted to say thanks for coming on.
Problem, guys. No problem.
Yeah, so for everybody else that's left in the chat, we are getting ready to close out the show. And keep in mind that next week we are going to have our friend Jason from Streetcar Culture, who is going to be coming to us from Australia. So you're not going to want to miss out that show. And keep in mind that it will be on my channel once again next week, and then we're following the regular schedule from here on out. Nate, it's been a blast. I've really had a great time getting to know you, getting to know a little bit about your channel and your background, and I'll be sure to keep in touch in the comment section on your channel and to see how you're making out with that Land Rover that you've got going there, getting ready for that big ride.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me on.
So I'm going to turn over to Grant, who's going to close off the show for us.
Yeah, well, once again, thanks everybody. Jason did mention he will be hosting a second week in a row. As you know, we shuffled things around so we could make this a possibility because I wasn't sure how broadcasting out of the back of a van was going to work. So make sure you're subscribed to both, well, all three channels here: Dirt Lifestyle, Straight Six Fan, an Old Car Guy, and that way you catch next week's episode as well. That's going to do it for this week. So until next time, peace out.